Open up your mind to the conscious way, the way of conscious mindfulness. Podcast with me, Sifu Buggy. Sifu means guide, muse, somebody who points you along the way, who guides you on your path. Buggy means the balancer between the chaos and the calmness, and is my martial art name, my spiritual and healing name. And for the last 39, almost 40 years, I've been studying the Taoist arts. The Tao means the way, the path, the balance. And within that system, that philosophy, those arts, you have different healing techniques, martial techniques, and spiritual techniques like Qigong, Tai Chi, Dit Ta, Tui Na, Chinese massage, reflexology, acupressure, Taoist philosophy, and many, many other techniques and skills, all designed to help you find your balanced way or path, and help especially my students and patients with chronic pain, with stress and anxiety, but also other fellow healers, life workers and coaches supercharge themselves and ensure they never burn out. So that's who I am and what I do. What's this show all about? Well, this show is sit down with Sifu on a Saturday. Hello, Saturday. And this episode is the way of the yin and yang. So, the yin yang, now a lot of people see that as a circle with sort of like a black sort of fish and a white sort of fish. So like a big head and a tail, or a black head and tail and a white head and tail with two little dots, two little like eyes. And a lot of people call that yin yang. Well, in actual fact, that symbol is actually called Tai Chi and is the balance of the yin and the yang, the ultimate balance of yin and yang. But we'll do a show about that one another time. This show is about yin yang. Yin yang is a circle, half of it totally black and half of it totally white. And yin yang is actually very similar to the Piscean energy of the Western astrology, of that opposing opposites. This versus that, right versus wrong, up versus down, left versus right. It's very opposing, very conflicting energy. Hence why it's half a circle, dead half a circle black and dead half a circle white. So in certain philosophies, when they say the yin yang and there's talk about these opposing opposites, what they don't realise is that is the symbol they're actually referring to, the yin and the yang symbol. So not the complementary opposites of harmony, the two sides of a wave or two sides of a coin coming together, but more of this opposing energy, this right versus wrong energy, this versus that energy. So it's a slightly different energy. There's a different symbol to that energy. So within Taoist numerology, you have the 0, you have the 1, and you have the 2, the 3, the 5, the 6, the 7, the 8. 4 sort of gets missed out, and we'll talk about that one day. In an episode in the future. And eventually you get all the way up to 10,000 things, which in Lao Tzu or Lao Tzu's, the Tao Te Ching, the art of the book, the art of power, or the way of power, and it's quite a well-known book within Taoist. It's sold quite a few copies, and there's quite a few translations, nearly as many translations as the Bible, the Tao Te Ching, or Tao Te Ching, as some people say. And within that, they talk about the 10,000 philosophies, but they also talk about the yin and the yang to a degree. They talk about these opposed, this energy that in one way can be opposing on energy, which is this yin yang. So the yin yang, half the black circle, half the white circle, is these two energies that when are out of harmony, they are opposing, hence yin yang. But when they're in harmony, they become Tai Chi. So, what is yin and yang? Well, there's a big whole list of what yin can be, and there's a big whole list of what yang can be. Now, some of the things yin can be are dark, contracting downwards, the back of something, the inside of something. Can be sometimes feminine, and can be sometimes negative. Now I say can because it is one or two, a few of these things. It isn't always all of that list. Yin is a representation of that one or a few of that list. So it is, and it is normally a comparison to something else. So something is more yin, and then something else is more yang. So the yang can be, also the yin can be smaller or shrinking. So the yang can be larger or expanding. It can also be, obviously the yin being the opposite, it can also be hot and brighter. So yin can be darker and cooler. Yang can be drier. Yin can be wetter. Yang can be expanding, where yin is contracting. Yang can be the front side of something, where yin is the back side. So it is, yang tends to be outward stuff, expanding, brighter, drier, hotter. Yin tends to be cooler, darker, more shrinking. Yang can be masculine, yin can be, or it has the qualities of feminine. So this list of yin and yang, there are certain things that go in it. In actual fact, the word yin and yang, yin means shady side of the hill, and yang means sunny side of the hill. So it's still the same hill, but it's one side of the hill and the other side of the hill. So yin is the shady side of the hill and everything that's sort of related to that sort of nature, and yang or yang is the sunny side of the hill and everything related to that nature. Now, so this list of yin and yang, like I say, it's sort of, one list is more introvert, one list is more extrovert, and that list can go on for forever in essence. Like, inside your body you can have organs that could be considered more yin and organs that are considered more yang. Now, the other things with the yin and the yang is that it's always in comparison to something else. So a ball is yin if you're comparing it to the planet. So if I had the planet and a ball, both spherical, which doesn't necessarily matter, but one's big, one's small. So in size wise, the planet would be yang and the ball would be yin. But if you then took our star, our sun, our sun would be the yang, and the Earth would be the yin. Now there are some stars that make our sun look tiny, so then that star would be yang, and our star would be yin. You then compare that to the galaxy. Well, the galaxy would be the yang. It's the bigger, more expanding. And that star would be yin. So it's always something in comparison. So if you flipped it the other way around, go back to that ball. So a ball to, say, a mouse, the ball would be yang, and the mouse would be yin. That mouse to a worm, the mouse would be yang if we're talking in relation to size, and the worm would be yin. That worm to an atom, the worm would be yang, and the atom would be yin. Now you can flip that in. It it is always in comparison to. So a glass of water. So a glass of water to a boiling kettle. So the kettle is hot and expanding, and the water is cool and still, unless it's moving about. But if you think of the hot and expanding bit, the boiling kettle would be yang, and the glass of water would be yin. That water compared to a active volcano, the active volcano would be yang because it's bigger and hotter and more moving, more active, and the kettle would be more yin. If you took that active volcano and compared it to the sun is bigger and hotter than the volcano, so the sun would be yang and the volcano would be yin. Flip it the other way, back to that water, to an ice cube. The ice cube would be more yin, and the water would be more yang. That ice cube, you flip it again to say an iceberg. The actual like coldness of it, the ice cube would probably be more yang, and the iceberg being even colder would be more yin. And so on and so forth. So yin and yang, there is a list of things that they can be, but it's also in comparison to one thing compared to something else. Where if one thing is more bigger and larger, or hotter and drier, that would be more yang. If the other thing is smaller and cooler or darker, that would be more yin. So in a day, the daytime would be the yang of it, and the nighttime would be the yin of it. So it's the comparison one to the other. Now, what confuses things is when you get, so in that list we say that yin could be compared, one of the things yin sort of is in that list is feminine. So the feminine is yin, and the masculine would be considered more yang. But these are energies, these are qualities. So within a human being, whether you're male or female, you have masculine qualities, yang qualities, and feminine qualities, yin qualities. So in that essence, the masculine qualities would be action, to start something, to protect something, to get things initially blasting off, to jump off of the deep end, to begin stuff. The yin, so the feminine side, would be the nurture and to continue it and keep it going. Now, within that yin yang, you can have what's called cultured or cultivated, and uncultured or raw. So you have raw yin or yang, and then you have cultivated yin or yang. Or you can have, you could sort of say, the more negative and the more positive, but it's a point of view. So in essence, when we talk about masculine and feminine as yin or yang, then the masculine, the uncultivated masculine side would be the fight, in flight or fight, and the yin would be the flight side. So the yin, uncultivated yin would retract, would pull away, would be the flight, would run away. The uncultivated masculine side would be more of the going outwards, so it would react in an aggressive way, or it would be the fighting way. So the yin and the yang, it has an uncultivated side or raw side, and then a cultivated side, so a purified side. So this is where you would then get you would then get, say, you would get raw masculine or raw feminine, or the slightly more negative sides of the uncultivated sides of masculine and feminine. But then the cultivated would be the divine. So you get the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Now, we have talked about in the past, we have talked about the sacred child, which is slightly different, or the balance between the two. But we have talked about the divine masculine being General Quan. And we've mentioned, we haven't done an episode on it yet, but we've mentioned about the divine feminine, which would be Kuan Yin or Mother Mary. General Quan, the divine masculine, would also be Metatron and Metatron's cube, or the energy of Metatron's cube. So that would be the divine side. So when we sort of go into the Taoist alchemy side, we talk about this alchemy of turning things from raw into pure, or uncultivated into cultivated. So within the elemental side, we're talking about turning lead into gold in alchemy, but also there's an emotional and spiritual alchemy. So obviously the spiritual alchemy is talking about ascension in essence, is raising your vibration, increasing your ability. So going from ungrounded energy and unstable energy into this more stabilized energy, so cultivating that energy. So going from the uncultivated into the divine, and then so that process has a yang side and a yin side, a masculine type style energy and a feminine type style energy. But again, the yin and the yang aren't boxed in as purely male or purely female. It's a whole list of things. It's more of a metaphorical terminology. So in a man has feminine qualities, so that nurturing, that loving, that keeping things going, and that but also that masculine side of being the protector, looking after people, of getting things started. So with your male, female, banana or goat, one of your goals is so a masculine quality would be to start things, to launch things, to protect things. But a feminine quality would be to nurture them, to keep them going, to maintain them. So whether you're male or female, you would want both of those energies, both of those qualities. So you want the ability to start stuff, but you also want the ability to maintain it, to keep it going. So within the yin and the yang, you have the uncultivated and the cultivated. You have the raw and the cultivated, the turning it into something else, into a higher element, into involving it or ascending it in a certain way. So you have raw yin and raw yang. Then you have the divine yin and divine yang, or the divinity of Kuan Yin, the divine yin, and General Quan, the divine masculine. So this list of yin and yang, and like I say, at the moment we're actually talking about more of the, when we say yin yang, that circle which is half black and half white, we're actually really talking more like the opposing opposites, and more to an essence of the uncultivated energy, the before energy. So when you're out of balance, you have these emotionally, you'd have these massive ups and downs, huge waves. 1 minute you could be an awesome up, and 1 minute you're an awesome down, or you could be really healthy 1 minute and then really ill the next. That would be considered very yin yang, very opposing opposites, very out of balance on both of those energies. So a society that's very yin yang would be at peace in 1 minute but in war the next, and you know, peace would be very fragile. It wouldn't be balanced. You know, things could kick off over the tiniest of things. So the yin yang energy is that Piscean energy of conflict, of you know, the things being considered it's right or it's wrong, it's this or it's that, it's up or it's down, and things are not harmonious. So yin yang energy is very opposing energy. It's very fight or flight energy. So within your body, so if your body is not in harmonious, it is this yin yang energy. You know, it is that, you know, your body's very fragile and it can get ill at any moment, and you're not really listening to your body. You're not really listening to your emotions. Your emotions could be unstable, or could flip. So this yin yang energy is not a stable energy. The symbol itself looks balanced in the essence of half of it's white and half of it's black. But actually it's like two fists pounding towards each other, both pushing each other, trying to gain dominance. So it is like an unbalanced energy. It's not balanced in that scale way, and the Taoists consider balance to be more like an equal wave. Hence the Tai Chi symbol, if you turn it on its side, it actually looks like a wave. You've got a bit going up and a bit going down, and they're both 50-50 though. They're both balanced in that harmony of one side is more yang, one side is more yin. There's a tiny little dot of the yin in the yang, and there's a tiny little dot of the yang in the yin, and it's more of this balanced energy. So the yin yang concept, this opposing energy, one side being more expansive, more drier, more hotter, more lighter, the other side being more contracting, more darker, more cooler, more damper. So within your body you have organs, and the organs tend to have a pair. There tends to be, or at least in Taoist philosophy, there tends to be the organs will pair off. One is more yang and one is more yin, and they then are represented. The next, or one of the next numbers is the 5, which is the 5 elements, and the 5 elements has a yin and a yang of each of those elements. So yin yang is within everything, and it's part of the Taoist numerology, it's part of the Taoist philosophy, but it's not the only part. So this yin yang energy is very opposing energy, it's very fight and flight energy, it's this or that. And it's, in essence, it's not balanced as such, it's conflicting. It conflicts with itself, it conflicts with the other energy, battling for the same space. So that very Piscean energy, very much desperately trying to be in control. It's more of a force than an energy, so it's forcing itself against the other thing, the other side. So when it becomes Tai Chi, it becomes more balanced, it becomes more cultivated, it becomes more of a cooperative nature when it becomes Tai Chi. So the yin yang energy is this opposing energy. It is this energy that opposes each other, but it's also, as I said, it's a comparison. It's yin versus yang is a comparison of one thing to the other. You have the ability to compare one energy to the other energy. So within the body, it's like saying what is up, what is down, what is left, what is right, what is open, what is closed, what is hard, what is soft. And you'll see at first, you'll see these representations of yin yang. But like I say, the yin yang is not actually in balance. It is seeing things as separate. And the ultimate truth within Taoism is that everything is Tai Chi, everything is the Tao, everything ultimately is balanced. It's balanced within that yin and yang. They slowly they formulate together and become like a wave where they flow with each other and they help each other and they balance each other. And that is the goal of the Tai Chi, rather than this less cultivated version, the yin yang. So with this, so we're sort of like, you know, just discussing. So this version of yin yang, it gives you the ability to assess things. It gives you the ability to understand. With the yin and the yang, there's a front, there's a back, there's an up, there's a down, there's an open, there's a closed. Is something more yin, is something more yang. When you get into that Tai Chi nature, it becomes more like quantum physics. It becomes more varied. But at the first, we're seeing it very yin yang. We're seeing it very straightforward. Something either is on or it isn't on. Either something you're allowed to do, you're not allowed to do at this moment in time with the yin yang energy. It's this very opposing energy, this very opposition energy of the yin and the yang. So within the nature of everything, like I said, everything has a yin and a yang. And at first, when you say yin yang, it's uncultivated. It is something that needs refining, needs work on, needs balancing. So your breath, you know, breathing in, if you breathe in, that would be considered more yin. If you're breathing out, that would be considered more yang. But your body's filling up with air as you breathe in, so that would also be considered yang. And as you breathe out, your body's emptying air, and that would be considered yin. So it gets a little bit confusing in the essence of that, you know, it's meaning two opposing energies, but the whole idea is eventually you bring those two together and you create harmony. The whole point of the word yoga, the stretching of the body, yoga means union. So it's the whole point of doing that breath work. We get that union to actually have the exercises where you're breathing in or breathing out, where you're balancing up those energies. It's about the understanding of the different sides of something, the this and the that, and then combining them to eventually create the Tai Chi. So within the healing side, there's an understanding of yin and yang. Yin yang could also be seen as balance and unbalance. Yin yang can be, as I said, can be seen as light and dark, or dark or light. If I say yin yang, dark or light, so it could be seen as heaven and earth. There's a whole, as I said, there's a whole list of what yin is and representations of yin, and there's a whole list of what yang is and representations of yang. So the first way to balance stuff is to understand it. So within the Taoist philosophy, these things are named. You name the 10,000 things. By naming the 10,000 things, by giving them some structure, you allow yourself to understand them a little bit more. So by being aware of what yin is and how that acts, and what yang is and how that acts, we can then take that knowledge and we can combine that knowledge and we can understand that knowledge to eventually create so hopefully that makes sense. The balancing of the yin and the yang, the combining those two energies together to create a more balanced way, a more harmonious way, a more cultivated way, which is Tai Chi, which we will talk about in another time. But it's good to know what yin is and yang, the styles. So yin tends to be, as I said, internal. It tends to be inwards. It tends to be downwards. It can be seen as feminine. It can be seen as darker energy to a degree. It can be seen as cooler energy, more damp energy. It can be seen as inactive, as like meditation, where yang would be seen more external, more brighter, can be seen as masculine, can be seen as hotter and drier and expanding, and can be seen as action, as like rather than meditation, be seen as, say, sporting activity, as a outward maneuver, a physical action. So the yin would be seen as like a meditation, or remember on the less cultivated side, so it would be seen more as the flight, even though flight we would say, oh, but flight is running away, that's moving. Well, it can be still, but it can also be retracting, pulling away. So as you breathe in, you're breathing in, so you're drawing air in, so that bit is yin, but your belly or your lungs are expanding, so that bit is yang. As you breathe out, the lungs contract or the belly contracts, which would be yin, but the breath is going out into the world, which would be considered more yang. So it's a comparison of, yin and yang is always compared to. Compared to this, it's that. Compared to that, it's this. So I hope that sort of makes sense. I did originally record this one last night, and the audio didn't work. So hopefully the audio is actually working this time. It was a little bit longer. I think I added a little bit more, but the understanding of yin yang is needed when we use it in the future on certain things. So like yin can be, like I said, the cultivated yin is the divine feminine. The uncultivated is the negative sides of the yin. So not necessarily, we can say the negative sides are feminine, but we mean more to retract, the flight, to running away. It can be the fear, the anxiety, the worry. These are also have different tags within the 5 elements as well. But the fear, the worry, the pulling away, the frightenedness, that would also be considered very yin. Aggression, expanding, shouting out, exploding, that would be considered more yang, more, so outward energy. So yin and yang in healing terms, means certain things. In energetic terms, means certain things. In cultivated terms, it means certain things. And in uncultivated terms, it means certain things. So things are always in comparison to as well. Remember, so a pea is yin to a football, which is yang. But the football is yang to the sun or the earth, the P would be yin. The P would be yin in comparison to the sun. That would be more yang, more expansive, more bigger, more wider. So a quiet person would be more yin, and a noisy person would be more yang in comparison, depending on other factors. So I hope that makes sense. It's sort of like a shorter podcast, into 34 minutes. So a shorter podcast as such, but this will be important for the future, understanding what yin yang is and the symbol. Yin yang symbol is actually half a black circle and half a white circle. We see the word yin yang as something totally different. but it's understanding of the yin and the yang helps you define things in certain ways, to define healing, define qigong, to define martial arts. One thing's more yin, one thing's more yang. The yin nature will do things in one way, a yang nature will do things in another way. So and the ultimate goal of the Tao is always to balance that yin and yang and creating Tai Chi. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Now, if you're interested in learning more about the yin and the yang, especially in healing work or emotional healing or energetic work, or especially in qigong or Taoist yoga, which is Taoist yoga, which is neigong, and Taoist meditation, which is shun qi shen, and learning the yin and yang within those concepts, those ideas, then you can look me up on YouTube under Sifu, Sifu, Boggie, Boggie. You can also find me on Instagram under Sifu.Boggie, and you can find me on Facebook under The Way of Conscious Mindfulness, as well as The Way of Sifu Boggie. So there's a few pages, a few lines on Facebook on them. So under The Way of Conscious Mindfulness, but also under The Way of Sifu Boggie page. That's there too. That was a catch-up page, or that was to the way of Conscious Mindfulness is more of the shows, and The Way of Sifu Boggie is more of my personal stuff. Is learning from me in a personal way. Now, if you're interested in actually learning qigong or learning shun qi shen, which is Chinese Reiki, or Eastern Reiki, which I teach as well. I teach the Eastern Reiki. I do the Western Reiki. The Western Reiki, basically the Reiki we learn in the West, is a little bit different. The Western Reiki is more about workshops. It's more about one-off or one-off attunements or these energy sessions that there's only one or two of them. Where the Eastern Reiki is more like an ongoing class. There's a lot more to grasp and to gain knowledge on, but Eastern Reiki also has empowerment, so they're weekly empowering sessions or weekly attunements. Eastern Reiki also has a Hatsui Ho or Japanese Qigong, so it is a different system. So if you're interested in learning, in actual fact, if you look up on the Sit Down with Sifu on a Saturday, Pine Oak Rising, we talk about energy work, and then my wonderful girlfriend, me, and there was a episode with me and also Awaken Atlas or Alice Wells and All Is Well, Alice Wells, and we talk about the Reiki specifically, especially the Eastern Reiki, the Tahiti, which predates Reiki, and Shun Qi Shen, which is Chinese Reiki and also predates Reiki. But I also have classes on those as well as on Qigong, and which is energizing exercise or breath work, and other versions of Qigong like Tai Chi and Ba Qua I teach as well, and I teach that on www.patreon.com/Sifu Boggie. So www.patreon.com/Sifu Boggie. That is my Patreon page, but you can also find me on YouTube under Sifu Boggie, on Instagram under Sifu.Boggie, and on Facebook under The Way of Sifu Boggie or The Way of Conscious Mindfulness. So if you're interested in learning, have a look for me on those. Now you also find me, as I said, on YouTube. This audio is on YouTube, as well as also on audio. I'm also on Spotify and bringmetolife.com, which are the awesome network that show my podcast as well as they have other great podcasts on their network too. So that's it for now. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you've got any questions, if it's something you're not quite sure, don't hesitate to ask. I love questions. Maybe, if you would like, you could actually come on and do a podcast with me where you ask those questions. Ask questions you want to, and explore. Let's explore the knowledge and the understanding together. So that's it for now. I hope you've enjoyed this. Take care. And remember, open up your mind to the way, the conscious way, the way of conscious mindfulness. And until next time, love, chi, and Shen, Sifu Boggy out.